line with some people saying that they are just only referring to historical facts, and they tend to twist the case on that front also, especially when it comes to arguments in court, and then they say that it has been designated wrongly as a hate speech. So how does the police in fact look into that factor of a hate speech? Can you just explain to us?
Hate speech can be put in different categories. Number one, if it is against the country, against the sovereignty of the country, then it's a different kind of hate speech. In this context, what you are talking is hate speeches that which disturbs the communal harmony between Hindus and Muslims, between majority community and minority community. In Nu, it is Muslims are in majority, Hindus are in minority. So if it is disturbing communal harmony, and if it is leading to a backlash, and counter speeches are being given against this speech, then it is a hate speech, and action should be taken in such cases. Because if you will not take action, people so moto will start taking action, and that will be bad for law and order.
Well, also we are joined in by Ellen Rao, former DCP Delhi, who is also joining us on Zoom. Mr. Rao, one thing that I would wanted to ask you is that when you come to tackling with hate speeches, earlier it was very easy because you had a forum that would be there would be a meeting, an event, and in that event you would actually have a situation where you had one person, speaking through the mic, and of course you had a loudspeaker there, and that is how they used to speak out in large contexts. But now it's not limited over there. You have one hate speech that is edited, recorded, edited, and circulated on social media. So you tend to amplify the effect of it. It is no longer just a loudspeaker that is speaking out hate. It is mostly about it being amplified on social media as well. How far has the law evolved to actually take up such issues as well?
Yes, actually the hate speech which are being spoken on the loudspeaker and which is audible to every person, that is one thing. And if it is done with the editing version, if it is done with the addition or alteration with that, and that if it is planted on the social media, that makes a difference between the actual hate speech, whether or it has been manipulated after that, after the actual after speech. So these two things are quite different, and I think that the hate speech, which it means actually as per the IPC definition, that hate speech which creates disharmony among the any community or any religion or any group of persons, that definitely it's an offense also. And if it is done with the intention to create such atmosphere by editing such speech, that becomes a more serious thing that is to be seen. And I think the government should have find out some ways and means to stop this thing, because we have been seeing on the daily basis that speeches which are being modified, edited, and adulterated, that becomes a day of the life, and that is really misguiding the general public. And even the person who is listening to that speech on social media, he doesn't know what has been actually spoken by the person concerned or not. So that government should be very serious about it, and that should be stopped forthwith by taking any legal action against these people who are doing all these illegal things.
Well, also interestingly enough, let me in fact get an Iki Jain into this aspect as well. Now, when you put it on social media, when you're looking at a speech being made, from an event or a venue, you have a particular audience to it. But when you put it on social media, there is engagement of the audience to it. There are counter speeches that are put as well, and it becomes a cycle of sorts. There's a there's a kind of a through and for kind of a situation there, where the discussions are made, debates are put in, and this is how the hate speech becomes kind of a mudslinging act, which later sends to aggravate the tensions on the ground. In Nu especially, one of the things was that this was already present on the social media, and the police did not take note of it. So we had discussions on it, saying that it had become a sort of a complete collapse of the entire administration. But here, A.K. Jain Saab, one thing that I wanted to understand is that, is the law evolved enough to take all these aspects of hate speeches as well? Because hate speech now is not static. It is not about one person making it. It is amplifying it. It is about engaging with it. It is also about putting counter arguments to it. It is not a one-way traffic anymore. But has the law evolved, or do we have provisions in the law that has evolved to actually handle all these aspects? Because you can arrest the person who made it, but the person gets advertised after that as well.
There is a total misuse of democracy in our country. So, because if people are not aware that their speeches can lead to communal tensions, it can lead to communal riots, they should realize it, that in a democracy you have to have control over yourself as to what you are speaking. And you speak something, as you have said, to a selected audience, but it gets taped and it's publicized on social media. So naturally, comments will start coming. In my opinion, action should be taken, and there should be an atmosphere in the country that nobody should be allowed to make hate speech. And if he or she is making hate speech, then case should be registered. Unfortunately, the problem with Indian police is that so many people are issuing such statements which fall in this category of hate speech. So they don't know at what juncture they should take action, or they should not take action. Because at times, if you take action, there is retaliation also from the community. So generally, police avoids. But in a situation where there is no kind of situation, or if hate speech falls under the category which has been specified by Supreme Court has specifically said that action should be taken. Hate speeches shouldn't be allowed. जो ये होते हैं धर्म समागम हरिद्वार में हुआ, at other places, watch should be kept, LIU should be there, all the hate speeches should be taped, and they should be monitored, and they should be looked into from a legal point of view. And if any case is made out in these dharm samagams, then action should be taken by police. One thing more I would like to say, that Indian police should be made independent as per Supreme Court order of full bench. That has not been carried out. Once it is done, then you will see that so many problems which come up in present times, they shall not be there. Police will remain impartial, whether there is a BJP government, or there is a Congress government, or Telugu Desam, any government, or TMC. They will just take action on merit, and once they start doing it, things will communal harmony shall be maintained at any cost.
Well, A.K. Jain Saab, also, I'm just reading out some of the statistics from NU, what we know. After the violence also, there was a lot of hate speeches that were going viral on social media. Now, after that violence, as you rightly pointed out, there were these dharm or religious meetings that were held. Now, there was this Mahapanchayat that was held in NU, and interestingly enough, these were the demands that were put forward, and they did it in full view of the police in Haryana. In NU district should be abolished, and the area should be made a cow slaughter free. A committee of 51 people decided in that Mahapanchayat, terming cow smuggling of root causes of all quarrels in the area. Held amid tight security, the congregation represented 52 Karps and Pals, and they said the National Investigation Agency should unravel the conspiracy. The merger of Muslim-dominated NU into other districts of Haryana. It also demanded setting up of Central Forces headquarters in NU. The committee demanded that the National Investigation Agency, as I pointed out, should be looking into those 31 violence. But then this looks fine in the sense that you're trying to have an administrator look into it. The rest of that demands is where the issue comes up. They say there was also boycott calls. of a particular community, traders, in fact, the particular community, traders as well as businessmen from that community should be boycotted, and their businesses should be, in fact, not encouraged, is the kind of statement that came from it. Now, earlier part of it, it looks like administrative issue, security issue, or maybe even the district being completely abolished. Again, it can be considered as a demand, but later, after all this, you have this aspect of it. Now, is this where it becomes difficult to actually find out which part of it is a hate speech?
Later part which you mentioned of boycott appeal by Khap Panchayats, action should be taken against Khap Panchayat. Several district collectors and SPs, they had issued notices, and they were later on boycotted. Actually, what happens is, once there is communal tension, all these people, they get an opportunity to organize panchayats. But once the communal temperature becomes normal, so everything goes into background. And mostly you will find that these people are outsiders. They have nothing to do with the communal riot which has taken place at Noor. They are outsider people, and they are unnecessarily creating issues. So there should be check on them, and they shouldn't be allowed to hold such panchayats. Again, I will say that police tries to remain away from such Khap Panchayats, because if you start making arrests there, or if you lathi charge, cane charge those people, the problem will escalate, and it will spread to the entire state, and hundreds of panchayats will be held. Then what will you do? That's the problem. So police should talk to the people that we kindly don't hold such panchayats. We are trying our level best to normalize the situation, and leave it to the residents of Noor to decide for, and administration and police to normalize the situation. Outsiders shouldn't be allowed, because outsiders generally give fiery speeches, and then they move away, and after that there is communal trouble in the district. So such people shouldn't be allowed to come.
Well, that's interesting, such people not being allowed to come into the district. On Sunday, there was a Hindu Mahapanchayat that was organized in New Delhi, and that was in protest against the violence that erupted in Haryana's Noor last month. Now here, controversial religious leader Yati Narasimhanand, accompanied by 40 to 50 supporters, reached Jantar Mantar and participated in that Mahapanchayat. Now here again, he made the statement saying that if the population of one community is on decline while the population of the other rises, then the same thing that happened 1,000 years ago in the country will happen again. Now, this is not the first time he's made such controversial statements. He has been a controversial preacher, and the Delhi police have in fact shut him down over this. Yati Narasimhanand is no stranger to these cases. He made controversial remarks on several fronts, especially that has landed him in legal trouble as well. There have been cases booked under him. He had once said that he called for the demolition of madrasas and Aligarh Muslim University using gunpowder. A case has also been lodged against him for making controversial remarks against father of the nation Mahatma Gandhi. Narasimhanand was also accused of another hate speech in Dharam Sansad in Haridwar, Uttarakhand. He said that he was one of the organizers of that Sansad, where call was given to take up arms against Muslims and to ensure that a Muslim does not become a prime minister in 2029. Now, this is the kind of statements that is being made. Now, I want to get Mr. Rao into. Mr. Rao, what is the kind of punishment a person is given if he's convicted with regards to a hate speech case, and what are the provisions that normally you use against a person who's made a hate speech?
Yes, in IPC, in our law, this IPC 153A, section IPC, that is described as the punishment for knowingly carrying out, that is there, about the hate speeches. 53, promoting enmity between the two groups of the grounds of religion, race, place and birth, residence and language, etc., doing its prejudicial to the maintenance of the harmony. Communal harmony, if it is disturbed by such type of hate speeches, and if it is proved beyond all reasonable doubt during the trial in any case, then the maximum punishment in this such type of cases is 3 years as per 153A of IPC. this punishment, I think that is not commensurate with the crime which has been taken place, because with the hate speeches, as you know, that in knew what happened, and so many other places also, when in the past, if you visualize all the result of these hate speeches, then you see that so many lives are being done. So only because that is separate issue, that when in a riot case, the murder
But
case
I'm not a lawyer, but I'm just asking, shouldn't hate speeches which lead to violence also come under abetment to murder?
That I'm coming to that point only, because separately the murder case is that because that murder place, why it has happened, that should be connected with that hate speech. That I think that in our law there needs to be an amendment is to be done, because if any riot takes place and in that riot some murder takes place, then that the person who is responsible for creating that riot because of that hate speech, that he should also be held liable for that murder. That is one important thing, so that will be a deterrent effect in future, that the people while speaking during this Khop Panchayat or Haram Panchayat or like any other gatherings, if they want to do the hate speeches just to create communal disharmony, that they should be dealt with according to the law of our land as a murder case trial. So that will be really having a very good impact on that. And because it's very easy to say that what they are saying, that is a democratic right, that as Mr. Jain is saying, that we are living in a democratic country. No doubt we are having liberty of speaking whatever we want to speak, but we have to be within the parameters of our legal framework, that because hate speech which creates disharmony among the communities on the basis of caste, creed or religion, that is made an offence. But because of that, if something is seriously committed because of that, then that should be connected with that heinous crime, as is like murder or any other thing, that damage to the property or injuries, like anything. So we need to rethink that, while definitely that these people who are doing hate speech, they should also think that they should not be politicized any issue. And in such type of some circumstances, as it was in New, we have seen, then all people, irrespective of any political parties or irrespective of any government is working or not, or irrespective of their people are in opposition, they should stop igniting that fire to that level, and they should try to extinguish all these type of communal rights, so that there should not be any harm to the public, general public, because this is also a correct thing, that the person who are responsible for such type of activities, they are from the outsiders. The person who are living in that area, I don't think that they want that there should be any disturbance. But certainly some people who are having vested interest, maybe political interest or maybe some other things, they try to spoil the circumstances, they try to spoil this all situation at that point of time, and they try to do all type of instigating all the public and other things also. That should be seen. And the most important thing, I must say, that the intelligence on the part of police, whenever such these functions are being organized, that police of that area or the administration having, because they have a vast power of collecting the sources, information from their respective sources, they must visualize the situation, what may be happen, and that if something is being expected to happen very rushed, then the proper arrangement should be taken prior to, so that any untoward incident can be prevented from happening, so that the general public may be saved from that.
I have a very interesting statement from the Supreme Court when it was listening to a hate speech case. What the Supreme Court and the bench of Justices Sanjeev Khanna and S.V.N. Bhatti, what they in fact said is this: we are very clear, whether it is one side or the other side, they have to be treated alike. If anyone indulges in anything which we know as hate speech, they will be dealt with as per the law. Now, this is the statement that was in fact given. The remarks came while the bench was hearing a batch of petitions seeking action against hate speeches and the calls made by several groups of social economic boycott of Muslims after the new Gurugram communal violence in Haryana. So, the Supreme Court is also quite clear as per law. But for me, as a basic citizen, my understanding is this, that or rather what I want to understand is this. Now, hate speeches doesn't happen, just by one person. People do engage in hate speeches, as rightly pointed out. AKG, let me in fact get you into the debate as well. When we talk about hate speeches, is it challenging that we don't have a law that would actually extend it further? Like Mr. Rao was saying that abetment to murder also should be included in it, because that person was responsible for creating trouble that went to violence where people lost their life. So is it required that instead of taking it two separate cases, we can bring in provisions for abetment to murder as well as into this hate speech category?
It is almost next to impossible to prove abetment to murder in such a case. How can you connect it with the hate speech? It's a very difficult job. In any case, abetment to murder in normal circumstances also is very difficult to prove. You have to collect a lot of evidence. There should be several people who depose. Best thing is, whenever such speeches are likely to be delivered, there should be proper police deployment there, intelligence deployment there, and the people who are giving hate speeches, they should know that whatever they are saying is being taped and action can be taken against them. They will automatically sober down. And if one or two people, they don't pay heed to police, then case should be registered against them and action should be taken under 153A. And in the new act, which has been proposed by the Government of India by Mr. Amit Shah in Parliament, punishment has been increased in new IPC. Punishment has been increased in hate speech. It is, I think, up to 7 years now. So that is good enough. And people will realize that if you give hate speech, you won't be able to get away with it. You will have to go to jail. You can be arrested by police from the venue or later on. So it will have a lot of sobering effect on the people who are delivering nonsensical speeches, you can say.
Nonsensical, as you pointed out. But then we were discussing about the possibility of the law taking, and of course you were saying that in the new laws we have some increase in the the years as such. But then how do we also incorporate the fact that the amplification factor, when we talk about social media's amplification factor, we might have the source, the person who made it, behind bars. We can probably get that evidence. But then that speech tends to be circulated, it's there in the dark web. Once it's out, how do we try to in fact address those factors? Is there any law that says people who aid in amplifying hate speech also, is there any law that could actually bring them also under the book?
There is law for everything in this country, let me tell you one thing.
Okay.
But it is very difficult to implement it.
Even for people who are not directly linked with the hate speech.
If you start implementing it on social media, then there will be so many other issues which will crop up. Independence of social media, it is being attacked. People are not able to express their views. Best thing is, I have always maintained when I was in police that there should be no incident of no type anywhere. Such bandobast should be made that there is no communal riot, because once you have a communal riot, once you have a new-like situation, then things absolutely go out of control for months for police, and it takes months to normalize the situation. This is what has happened in Nu. Because of mishandling by Haryana police and Haryana administration and district administration, it went absolutely out of control. It was expected that there will be trouble. No arrangements were made, and that's why all this has happened in Gurugram and Faridabad, Palwal, so many places, and mahapanchayats are being organized. Mismanagement on the part of one district has led to communal tensions in so many other districts. So best is you keep very good bandobast, take action against people on the spot. No provocative speeches should be allowed to be given during a procession. No weapons should be allowed to be carried, and the other party should also be told that if you create trouble, we will come down heavily on you. Once the message is clear, senior officers on the spot, I am 100% confirmed that there is not going to be any trouble. And if there is some small trouble, some brickbatting, they can be controlled within no time by the police who are present on the spot.
Well, okay. Mr. Rao, let me get you into, Mr. Jain says that, there's a law for everything, but it's very difficult to implement. And then you get into this question about whether there is freedom of speech or not and issues like that. But rather than that is to have proper police presence. But the fact remains is that the speech still can be made is the issue over here. So, but I was also asking that you can get the person who made that speech, but what about those who are amplifying the speech, who are copying it and putting it in various other? How do you if you get this person behind the source, you can convict him because he made it, but after that his voice just gets dispersed all across the place. So how is it possible to stop that speech from being amplified? Is there a law for that? And can we bring the same provisions of a person who made the hate speech against this person who's actually spreading this as well?
Yes, that is the most important, and that's the present problem, that any hate speech is being circulated in social media, that is being amplified, and the edited version is there. Some part is deleted, some part is added, with having some same voice of that person is concerned. So this we need to add in our new laws, that such type of activities in social media and circulating these hate speeches are to be also banned, and not only banned, they should be made illegal, and the criminality should be involved in the such type of thing. Yes, I agree that there are law in our country which can stop everything, but there is a problem in implementation. But I will say that only in this case, when some hate speech is there and then the murder charges are being implemented on that, one thing definitely will be the deterrent, that the person who is having a fear that he may be also charged with a murder case. No doubt when he is acquitted or at the later stage. But initially when the investigation is done and the person is charged with the murder charges, doing that hate speech, person is charged with the murder because of his hate speech, that right took place, and then so many murders took place, then he should definitely be held responsible for that murder, which are, so that will be the long-lasting effect on the other people also, thinking that they may be charged with that, and the trial may start. But it is irrespective that there is no sufficient evidence to connect that person with that murder. That is separate issue, because in so many cases we have seen in India that persons are being charged and acquitted later on, but they have to suffer a ordeal of the trial also. So that ordeal of trial should be having a fear in the mind of such people who are trying to do all these things. That will be also having a deterrent effect. So and definitely another thing also, the persons who are doing all these things in social media, amplifying these speeches, they should also have a fear in mind, that some element of fear of law should be there in the mind of people, so that they can stop all these things, and they should think that by activities done by them, there may be a great loss to the normal public, and that innocent public or innocent people are being killed like this in such type of riotous situation. So the government now should think about very seriously to amend the laws on the social medias and the circulation of social medias, and there should be some check and balances with the service providers of these WhatsApp and other things, so that they should also come into the ambit of the correction of by the government.
Okay, Mr. Jain, we did see how these things are being made as such, where we talked about the source, we talked about people could amplify it, but then I am also from the media, and I won't be able to name this media house, but there was a person who was arrested for an inflammatory post, and he's from the media as well. So when you come to trying to put a person who's also in the media trying to push out a hate speech or tries to border around a hate speech through the media, how difficult a job it comes to the police, because this person is also a media person?
No, he can be given a notice by the local administration, by local district magistrate or SSP, that you are circulating this, you are propagating this, and you are creating communal disharmony in the state. Very few people are there. Hardly one or two people are there. They can be just pulled up, and they should be asked by local DM and SP. Local DM, SP, they command a lot of authority. especially in a state like UP, Haryana. And if they tell him to shut up, then he has to shut up. And he has to be told that if you keep on spreading such kind of rumors, a very stern action will be taken against you. Your license will be withdrawn. You will not be permitted to enter any press conference, or you will be allowed to ask to leave the district. He shall be all right. There are so many things which can be done, and we have been doing it throughout our service. We call them, we do counseling of such people, and it has a salutary impact on such people. There are hardly any people during my service who refuse to obey the command of police and magistracy.
Because here in fact, especially when it came to no violence, one person from a particular media was actually arrested by the police over his alleged
Yes.
inflammatory posts,
Yes,
and they did
yes.
take action on it. So for me, that was something that had stood out. But then, again, since you also raised that issue about question of press freedom and issues coming in that, well, again, how do we border on that? That was the kind of question that, but then you say that there is power on the sides of the local administration to do that. So they have actually done that as such. Well, gentlemen, also now we've been speaking about hate speeches, we've been speaking about how we have provisions for that, and then we are trying to say that if there are issues that could be connected with it, like abatement of murder, of course we spoke about the difficulties associated with such things, but then hate speeches tend to lead to hate crimes. We have seen that happening. Today morning we were reading from the newspaper a case about how parents of a person who had eloped with a Hindu woman was actually beaten up. They were beaten to death, in fact, because of certain these aspects. But then, all these issues, I mean, there are so many such things that are there. These issues are actually picked up and then put up on social media, and then you have a group of people. Is it possible for the police to actually find out quite easily about even though if it's a closed group, do they have the powers to actually ask for details of what is happening within this closed group of people? Because a lot of this agenda forming, a lot of this planning seems to be happening on these closed groups as such. So what does the law, in fact, does it allow you to ask for information from these service providers on this? Or is it a difficult task? You have to go to the court has to go ahead and give you the orders, and then you go to the service providers for it.
Yes, first, is for me or Mr. Jain?
Both of you all can answer. Both of you all can answer.
Let me clarify the situation about these service providers.
Okay.
During investigation of any case, when any service provider is approached for taking the data about the mobile phone or something like that, the message all together, then they are bound to give that information to the investigating officer. That is per law. There's no need of going to the court before that. And that the investigating officers request, I think now we have made mandatory that it should be on official email ID of the service provider. Then we get all assistance from the service providers, and whatever is required by the investigating agency, that can be done. No need of getting the court orders. But for the same time, that as Mr. Jain also has recommended, that the police has to be very firm and determined in taking action against the persons who have been identified as the missing mongers, and they are trying to
right, Mr. Rao, we have just a presser coming in. We have a press conference from the BCCI. We just need to cut through it as of now. We're on live. We're just moving into that presser.
Have you settled? Everyone noted down the score? Yep. Okay, we'll take one question at a time. We'll start from this side. Anyone has a follow-up question, please raise your hand again, and we'll come back to you if the time permits. We'll start. Okay, first question.
I just want to know from the squad that you've announced, how close are you to finalizing your World Cup squad?
I mean, it's really a no-brainer. We've picked these 18 guys, so it'll be in and around those guys. There's few important guys who are coming back from injury. Hopefully all goes well with them. They've got a few